In the tenureship of General Abacha, for the 4 years, 7 months, he found himself in power. Abacha has had numerous attacks, away from the few that was mentioned. There were collaborations between some notable Nigerians and some international powers to remove him out of office. General Abacha is dead. But those he stepped upon decided to invest by smearing his name. In Nigeria, over the years, decades, there are some people who have grown bigger than the laws of Nigeria, bigger than security agencies of Nigeria, bigger than governments in Nigeria. But during Abacha's tenure, in the course of trying to remove him out of office violently, Abacha had to defend himself, and he allowed the law to take its course. So notable Nigerians were arrested. They were tried. They never take it in good light. They have still not forgiven General Abacha. And I have my reasons for saying not yet. They have not yet forgiven Abacha, even at death. Now, sanctions also were threatened upon Nigeria. And the survivability of the government then, to my knowledge, was a key thing. There was also a decision at one point in time where some stakeholders of Nigeria were invited to Abuja at Brigade of Guards officers' mess, at a mess called Camp Basim officers' mess in Abuja. Traditional rulers, key politicians, key businessmen from the north to the south who sat down to converse. At that time, Chief Tommy Kimu was foreign minister. And when sanction was threatened on Nigeria, at the request of some notable Nigerians, some modalities were taken to allow some money go to some accounts abroad, so that when sanction comes, that money will be able to keep Nigeria afloat. At that time, oil was $7, $8. No loan was taken to run Nigeria. Policies were taken, including PTF, so that Nigeria could grow. And you may be shocked, out of hardship, God Almighty endowed some of us, little as we were then, to have created PTF. God Almighty created PTF, I did it, PTF. And it worked, and it helped so many families in Nigeria. And that is the ledger I drive. If that has touched houses, touched families, touched institutions, touched the poor, touched orphans to have grown and go to school, to me that is all I require, not physical money. Many of our rich ones are rich when you talk about contents in terms of money, but they are nothing but storekeepers because they care less about humanity. They keep the money for white men to utilize, and they leave their home dry. And these are worse than Abacha, and they exist, and they are in the north as well as in the south. The Abacha loot that you are talking about, at one time from prison, I wrote a note to late General Abacha's family, and I said, in the name of God, don't get cowed down from the pressure and the segregation and the abuses you receive every day. Come to the fore and tell the whole world whatever is in the contents of the money they are talking about as loots. The dates of lodgement of that money will show whether monies were kept in his name before he became head of state, and monies that were kept in his name after he became head of state. That is step one, to do yourself justice. I suggested. Number two is also to give history as to what that money was kept and meant for. There are stakeholders you can go for. I was in detention at that time, but I can remember faces of many, many big men who attended that Abuja Kambasi meeting where this decision was taken. And all these people are there. But then, unfortunately, till this moment, I don't think there was any interview that was presented to these personalities. And there are many. There were many in such a way that the council hall in the villa could not contain them. That was why they had to go to Kambasi for the meeting. I was at the meeting initially, but then I left halfway to go back to the office because it was wrong for everybody to abandon villa at one particular point in time. So I had a duty to go back to the office. But I know that was part of the topic. And there are many big men you can ask to get all these issues. Now, General Abacha really stepped on toes. He really stepped on toes, meaning from 1994, March, Abacha was actually to be removed. And I'm referring you to a book written by General M.C. Ali, former Chief of Army Staff, former DMI, and very upright senior military officer, a highly right-thinking person. There was to be a coup. He wrote a book and indicated how it all happened. But many people were quick in buying the book and keeping it away from circulation. But I was able to have tendered that book in the year 2001 before Justice Oputa panel, around September 2001, so that they can see and realize that some of the things they were asking us, here is a general who was not even invited, but has decided to write a book so that he can now present facts to the people. Nobody is making referral to that book. The reasons why they had to remove Abacha in March 1994. That was why service chiefs of that time were retired. General M.C. Ali himself, Admiral Ali Maduke, Air Vice Marshal Femi John Femi, they were retired. But at that time, General Abacha forgave two people. I have never seen, where read that book, you will be shocked. General Abacha called General Dia and General Abdulsalam Abubakar and forgive them. But these three were retired. Nigerians should have asked, why were they retired? And why is General M.C. Ali's book not being in circulation? Why? There are facts that will answer many of the rumors that are being sponsored or that have been sponsored and that are being sponsored at intermittent breaks now, is in that book. Another thing is, we came to serve, and I know we were keeping diaries of events. And I know all security agencies in Nigeria were involved, were represented in the presidency. And I know the representation in terms of teams of number of officers and men, from intelligence community to the military to paramilitary. I was the one that created that to be. When General Abacha came to power in 1993, I was privileged to have created a structure that was approved. So the entire security agencies were represented in the villa for liaison roles. And when that was approved, the essence is that there was always a relationship between mother services of those representatives in the presidency to they themselves. So every single thing that had happened during Abacha's tenure had copies in all the agencies in Nigeria. But I have never had all the agencies call for interview. I have never had people calling for documents so that you can justify action. I have never also seen yet a situation where facts with exhibits to the people were presented regarding the Abacha loot. I will tell you this, I was highly embarrassed in 1999 when we were taken to, we transferred from Ikoyi prison around November or December. That was when I heard the word Abacha loot. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed. I was very embarrassed. And I reacted. Why? Where was the money from? What was it for? Who kept the money? How much was the money? And when was this money stashed out? How was it taken out? And remember, Abacha was not always living Nigeria. He traveled at the beginning. Yes, he traveled out to India, to Saudi Arabia, to Pakistan. He went to so many countries at the beginning in 1994. But when he came back, most of his journeys were within African countries. South Africa and many West African states, to Central Africa at one time, and North Africa. These were most of the places he visited. In most cases, he was being represented because the initial stones he stepped upon were vehement in kicking him out of power. And we were doing what we were doing. So this is the little I can say concerning Abacha loot. But I was asked, this is the way to conclude it, on this particular question, I was asked with a paper and biro and numerous questions when I was in detention It started from 1998 when I was arrested. And the first questions I was asked concerning money that was General Abacha's own was in November 1998, after my arrest in October. And I saw the whole thing. I said, and I quote, and the agencies are there. To those I make my statements are there. The agencies that have copies of what I wrote are there. I said, and I quote, I have an account with Bank of the North then. And I said, that was where I was being paid salary. And I said, I wrote on my own volition, not under any intimidation, that if you find money anywhere in any account in the whole world over, not only Nigeria, please take it, but expose the money and get me prosecuted. This I wrote out by handwritten. The then National Security Advisor initiated these questions, and I was confronted with it, and I answered. And then also, if there is any person or persons who will say, Mustapha has taken money from that institution, or him, or them, I am also available for prosecution, but make sure you expose me to the entire world. I came to the presidency and served from 1993 to 1998.